Hey, I am Julia in Julia K Art Studio, and today I thought I was going to share my process for how I make a color or a paint. And of course, this could stem from many different places, and it's different for me every time, but generally, these are the steps I have. So typically, it starts with inspiration. I'm inspired by something to make the paint I'm going to make. Here I'm just going to show you some example of how inspiration can look. So for the colors I'm working on now, that will be for autumn of 2020, here is the inspiration, how it looks for that in my sketchbook, on the Pinterest board. And I just use any inspiration I have. That might be colors like in different pigment, it might be textures and granulation, it could be elements, sounds, words, anything and everything that makes me evoke the feeling I want to get. Sometimes it could be that I want to have inspired by an object, but in this case it's inspired by a feeling. So that is a bit tricky, but I'm working on it. So when I've had my inspiration, I know roughly what colors I want to do or color. Then I go over to the second step and I test out with the different colors I already have. Ready colors that are in the shop or ready colors that are just mixed up pigment, really. So I'm going over and seeing what do I have that has the same feeling already. So here I'm swatching out a few of the colors I already have in the shop, really. So I'm swatching two colors from the Jane set. It's Elizabeth and Darcy. Both have that sort of murky bluish tint. I also have a Disa, but so those are colors that sort of evoke the feeling I'm going for, but it's not close to any of them. So what I'm doing then is having the different pigments I have, I tend to do like a half pan or so of them so I can have them as reference in my palette here. So I'm starting and mixing different colors and seeing if I can just mix them to get the color close to what I want. So here I'm mixing Indentron blue or Delft blue, or yeah, it's PB60, and then raw umber. And I'm swatching it here and I'm just looking like, am I close to what I'm wanting to achieve? And if I am close, then that is great. But then I'm thinking, how close am I to that? Can I move forward? Can I change something to make it go even better? Also, a downside to this is that when you do this, you will get very light washes, and that is not completely accurate to how the paint will react and look once it's actually mixed together as a paint. So just bearing that in mind. But I have decided that I think I want a PB60, which is a rich warm blue as a base. I feel like that is a good way to start. But on its own, it's too vibrant and it's too bright and too strong and too cheerful for what I'm wanting. So I'm changing it up. I'm thinking, if I, instead of raw umber, what if I add burnt umber? What will happen then? Well, I will get a mix that is much more black in tone. And I will just keep on mixing, keep on thinking like, what can I add? Can I add in indigo? Can I add in red, purple, violet, yellow? I didn't add those colors in, but that is the process of going through. Always keeping moving forward. So this is sort of the groundwork and thinking like, how much can I do? So I have to say, like 90% of the colors that I have in my palettes are just for swatching. I rarely paint anymore, I have to say. It's mostly swatching. So yeah. So here I decide like, what if I go completely different? What if I add in Terre Verte, which is a very light green, has a pretty low value in color value. Will I like that? And I decide, yeah, I kind of like it, but it doesn't fit that image that I have in my head. And it's not easy, you know. You have this very clear it's not really an image that I have in my head, but it's very clear on what I want. So I'm just trying to get that across. Also, another thing that is very important while I'm doing this is swatching on different types of paper, because different types of paper will react differently to different types of paint and pigment, and especially if you're working with pigment that will granulate. So I'm having cotton paper, I have wood pulp paper, hot press, cold press, little texture, a lot of texture. I'm trying to find the different papers that I tend to use, but also that react differently. And here you can see how differently they do react, and how just the granulation looks differently on the different papers. So when I have done that, I'm thinking like I have an idea I want to use in the PB60. I want to use the burnt umber. So I have an idea of what I want to achieve. So I'm starting out with that pigment, that is the base. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix Indenturium Blue, because I know I want that as a base. So I'm going to mix that pigment, and then I'm just going to split that into 3 different piles. Or if you have more, then you can mix it up in more sections. But usually 3 is fine by me. And if you need more, then you just make more. So here, first swatch is just the pigments on its own. So we have a little bit of a reference of where to go off. And I mean, it's a beautiful color just on its own. So I'm just splitting it up into 3. I have 1 on the left, 1 in the middle that I'm working on now, and then 1 to the right. And I'm starting here adding in some raw umber and mixing that together. Now the important part here is not to mix it like perfectly. We just need to see how the color will look. And as you can see here, it will get darker. Also keeping in mind, while you swatching and mixing color with pigment, it's very important to let your swatches dry in between, because there is a big difference in colors painted out and colors that are dry, and you will have dry colors. That is what you're going to have your make your decision on. So just keep that in mind. I don't make any decisions until I have a dry swatch to look at. So that is why it's important to keep on swatching all the time. So we keep on going here, and I'm using my very small it's a small little molar, but for the batch of paint I'm working on, it just works fine. It's a lot easier to like really get down and scrub with this one. So the same thing here, I'm swatching on different pieces of paper. And now I'm just going to save this batch for a reference. So I'm just going to put that in a pan, and then I'm just going to put a label on top of it so I know what's in it, because once it's actually done, it can be really hard to know what it is. So here I've decided that I might want to try something different that I hadn't thought about before when I was swatching the paints just with my dried watercolors. So I'm going to go in here and I'm adding some Venetian red. And you can see here it looks really dark, and that is why it's so important to do a lot of different swatches with different values, but also different letting it dry in between. Okay, so if I'm happy with that swatch or not so happy, I'm going to save it anyway, so I have that as a reference. I might not need it anymore for this project, but I might need it later on if I'm working on something else. Then it would be nice to know what it is. So yeah. Okay, so we're going to make the last one here, and we're just going to quickly clean up a little bit. And the last one, I have an idea. I really liked how it looked with the red one. I liked where I was going with that. And now I'm going to go in with Venetian red, Pompeii red, sorry. And I'm just going to see, like, because this is a little bit different. Now, a lot of these iron oxide, Caput Mortuum, Pompeii, Venetian red, they in the base they're all the same pigment, but depending on how they're being processed, it's a big variation on how the color actually looks, and I think that is amazing. It's the same with the ambers and siennas. Depending on how you have mixed them, it will be a lot different. So even though this is the same pigment as before, like if you look at it just on the paper, but in actuality or on the paper painted out, it's very different. So yeah, that is also why it's very important to test out, and I'm so happy I got to this. So I'm feeling like I'm very, very close to the color that I have in my mind, but I feel like I need to add in a little bit of white. Now, white typically for classic watercolor painters is a big no-no. It's just a red cross, you don't pass. But I don't care. All I'm thinking, I want to achieve the color I have in my mind, and adding that sprinkling of white makes huge difference. And after all of the work, here it is, and I couldn't be happier. There's something special about having a color in mind and then struggling to get it through, and then you finally get it. It is just such enormous a feeling of satisfaction. And yeah, so now we have had inspiration, we have tested out, decided what qualities we want to have, and we have made it on the slab, and now it's just making it. And here you can see how different it looks, because when I first started this it looks almost red, and the more I keep mulling, the bluer it will get. So anyway, this is a paint that takes a long time to mull, by the way. And yeah, here they are, and you can also see the darker ones are the reference images, or the reference from before. And now here we have the finished paint. So that is roughly how I do it when I decide on what color. I decide on how do I want it to look, what kind of qualities and properties do I want this paint to have. If I want a color to granulate, do I want it to be opaque, do I want it to be transparent, all of those goes in. But in the end, that is just the process, and you might change your mind during the way. That is not a crime. But I am so happy that I have the color that I have been thinking about for a very long time. I'm not going to say how long, that would be pathetic. But yeah, I am so happy. I can't wait to finish the other colors for this set. And yeah, so thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed this video, that you have gotten some inspiration or just enjoyed seeing the process. I don't know, but thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.